All right. Let's Right. I thought, I don't know who's going to be awake or not at this time, but let's log on for a few moments, bi'idhnillah, and just shed some clarity on, whoa, I'm just dropping everything behind here. Just shed some clarity on something that I'd shared earlier on today. So, right, Bismillah, inna alhamdulillah wa kafah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulih al-Mustafa, wa ala ibadi alladhina irtada, wa man bihudahum ihtada, wa bi athari ahli al-Madinah iqtafa, wa ba'd, fa salamu Allahi ala al-qawm, ahlan wa sahlan bikum people. Hope Ramadan is going well. Awesome. Hope you're keeping hydrated. That's some coconut water right there, full of ice. Alright. Okay, I thought, look, alaikum assalam, folks. I'd shared a fatwa earlier on today, and I just wanted to kind of speak a little about that because I shared it, and alhamdulillah, it was well received by many people. But it got the usual, as you can imagine, the kind of unnecessary hate that many people gave. So I thought, well, you know, how about a few minutes, even if it's just a few minutes, to kind of shed some clarity and take some, maybe you might require some clarifications on that fatwa. Ustad Faraz, ahlan wa sahlan, ahlan wa sahlan. Alright. So, what is this fatwa all about? Well, I've not actually said anything controversial. I would say that, wouldn't I? To my defense, sorry, if the table, you know what, every time I'm picking a drink or something, I'm realizing that the table's moving. So, I don't know, that might be shaking the screen a bit. Right, so, I mean, just to get this fatwa, what it is I've been asked by several people about those who are struggling with Ramadan, especially in the UK, and it could be worldwide, but especially I was asked primarily by most people in the UK, several people reaching out to me, same question. Some from Europe, certain parts of Europe, and they had asked me that, look, we're struggling with this, with the fasts, with dehydration, we just can't handle it. What can we do? So I shared a fatwa earlier on today saying that, look, for those people who are struggling, and they feel, and look, I put in the keywords like they are overburdened, they are feeling overburdened by the fast, then what they can do is they can forego. I gave three options. I said, one, they can forego the fast and make it up later on. I did remind them that they have an obligation, should they choose this option, they are they are obliged to make that fast up. Okay, so I did bring that to their attention, and that this is an obligation between them and Allah. Failing, or not failing that, but let's say they are not seeking that, those who feel that they do want to fast now, but so they don't want to defer the fast, they want to participate now in the month of Ramadan. What can these people do? So I highlighted that, look, for these people, there's a choice of further assistance if they are struggling with the hours. I said that on one, there's two options. One, these are for people who are struggling. Look, the keyword, struggling and overburdened, but they want to make up the fast. Not make up, they want to complete the fast with people. They want to participate in this Ramadan as it is. So I said, look, they have two options, that they can either take the rukhsa of eating up until sunrise, as was practiced by certain companions of the Prophet radiallahu anhum, amongst them Hudhayfah ibn al-Yaman and several of the tabi'een. I said that is a rukhsa for them. And then other than that, those to whom that is not sufficient, but they want to participate, but they can't do the whole fast, I said there is the fatwa that has been around for almost 150 years now, popularized. Maybe people historically did say that too. But this fatwa of that you can fast in accordance with the timings of the people of Makkah. Now that was something popularized by Sheikh Muhammad Abdu and then became the fatwa of countless scholars of Al-Azhar, and has been the fatwa of many of the Al-Azhariyeen for almost, you could say now over 120 years to 150 years, that kind of time span. And it continues to remain the official fatwa of the Dar al-Ifta al-Misri. That is the official fatwa board of Egypt, the official fatwa council of Egypt. So now, what is my point of highlighting these? I want to come back to, I'll come back to some of these. I'm not going to make this too long, but just to shed some light. You see, this is to do with, is inconvenience the word? This is to do with inability or incapacity to be able to complete something. Or haraj, the kind of suffering that somebody feels when doing something. Nobody disputes that to be a valid illah in Islam. Nobody. Let me just clarify. Those people that jumped on my post and found issues with that have no true acquaintance with the Quran. None. Because if they did, yes, for us, hardships, excellent, shukran. Sometimes, at this time of day or this time of night, my mind's all over the place. And so this kind of hardship that people are facing. Now, the whole point here is that, look, removing hardships is a clear, established principle within Islam. That is not disputed in the slightest. Okay, so just to get that point across. So whenever we're looking at rulings in the Sharia, there's three things that are looked at. Okay, there are, when we're talking about the causes, you have something called Takhrijul Manat, you have Tanqihul Manat and Tahqiqul Manat. And Imam Shatibi speaks about this very clearly in his book Muwafaqat, which is the objectives of the Sharia. Now, that is, Manat means illah, the cause for a particular ruling to be put into effect. So similarly, when we look at the Quran, Allah says that Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kutiba alaykumus siyam, that fasting has been made an obligation for you in Surah Baqarah. Kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum, as it had been made obligatory for those who came before you. Now, shocking to certain Muslims who think that fasting has been ordained so we can starve and feel hunger and thirst. That's actually not what Allah says in the Quran explicitly. He says why fasting has been ordained. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, in the hope that you may acquire taqwa. That is the purpose. Right? That is the purpose. Right? So, right. So, this is, I'm not using my iPad today, so this is slightly, right. So, the purpose is taqwa. How you can, that you can obtain taqwa. So, just to clarify, it is not, the purpose has never been to make people starve, and although that may be, that the fact that people feel hunger and thirst is a byproduct. You could say it's a side effect of fasting. It's not the purpose and goal of fasting. The purpose of fasting is that you attain taqwa. لَعَلَّكُمْ Surah Al-Baqarah, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. Right, now this person, Why is my... Oh, there you go. It worked. Alhamdulillah. The troll, anybody trolling I will block. Alhamdulillah. Despite the difficulty there, that was quite successfully blocked. But coming back to this point, look. So, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. So Allah Himself is telling you why the fast has been ordained. Then Allah highlights, فَمَنْ كَانَ مِنْكُمْ مَرِيضًا. So whosoever was ill, or is ill, أو على سفر, or is upon a journey, traveling, فَعِدَّةٌ مِّنْ أَيَّامٍ أُخَرٍ, then he may take a number of those days from another set of days, meaning make up for it. None of the scholars disagree that the reason here is raf'ul haraj. Nobody generally disagrees with that it is to remove hardship. So if you are ill or if you are traveling, to remove hardship, you may complete that fast at another point. Nobody disagrees on the illah here. So takhrijul manat, the manat is the illah, the cause, and the tanqihul manat, which is the selecting the cause, it is pretty much agreed upon that it is raf'ul haraj, removing hardship. That is clear. Nobody is disputing these two, just to clarify. But interestingly, Allah goes on to say, He doesn't stop there. He said, فَعِدَّةٌ مِّنْ أَيَّامٍ أُخَرٍ وَعَلَى الَّذِينَ يُطِيقُونَهُ. And what about those who are capable of fasting? Now note how Allah says who are capable of fasting. He doesn't say who are not capable of fasting. Now many people try to say that maybe Allah meant here not capable, but that's not what He says. عَلَى الَّذِينَ يُطِيقُونَهُ, not عَلَى الَّذِينَ لَا يُطِيقُونَهُ. It's عَلَى الَّذِينَ يُطِيقُونَهُ. So it's upon those who are capable of fasting, فِدْيَةٌ طَعَامُ مِسْكِينٍ, that let them give a fidya. And then Allah goes on to explain the Shahr Ramadan alladhi unzila fihi al-Quran, that this is a blessed month in which the Quran was revealed. فَمَنْ شَهِدَ مِنْكُمَ الشَّهْرَ فَلْيَصُمْ. Whosoever witnesses this month, let them fast. But then interestingly, Allah brings our attention back. يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ بِكُمُ الْيُسْرَ. Allah wills for you and wishes for you ease. وَلَا يُرِيدُ بِكُمُ الْعُسْرَ. And Allah does not wish hardship upon you. So these are the clear words of Allah. So when I said that this fatwa, this is for those people who are feeling that hardship. Alhamdulillah, all of you people out there, Facebook family, Muslims by extension, this great ummah, all of you who can keep the fasts, despite the difficulty, despite the challenges, I applaud you, and all of us, we admire your strength and courage, and Allah will reward you in death. Right, so when somebody's sending me a message and it's blocking my... Right, so... And Allah will reward you abundantly. This is not to do with you. Please stop showing off your achievements to the world. Stop this, I can keep the fast. Alhamdulillah, that's amazing. It's awesome. Keep it up, man. That's brilliant. But stop boasting. Stop being arrogant to those people who are finding difficulty. And just understand that this world doesn't revolve around you. That, some people feel that, because I can do it, why can't other people do it? Well, I'm sure there's many things in this world that other people are doing that you do not do and cannot do. So it's not about it's not about you as a person. I came across a few comments of people saying, people in Africa can keep the fast, or people in Arabia can keep the fast. Well, I'm not addressing people in Africa or Arabia. And the people in Africa and Arabia are not asking me. And Islam is not just for Arabia and Africa, it's for the whole world. So you need to get over this kind of guilt tripping sensation. Look, by all means, you guys that can keep the fast, keep it. It's awesome. Alhamdulillah, it's an obligation. Those who can keep it in spite of the hardship, Allah will reward you abundantly. And I encourage you to do so. I applaud and acknowledge and, celebrate your achievement. But I do not like your arrogance in trying to impose that on Muslims who are struggling. That is unacceptable. That is not from Islam. So, putting that aside, I want to give a similitude. You could find a similar case study if you like. Let's take shortening the prayers as an example. Now you look at the verse of the Quran. وَإِذَا ضَرَبْتُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ, that if you traveled, فَلَيْسَ عَلَيْكُمْ جُنَاحٌ أَن تَقْصُرُوا مِنَ الصَّلَاةِ. إِذَا ضَرَبْتُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ فَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْكُمْ أَن تَقْصُرُوا مِنَ الصَّلَاةِ. Then there is no problem for you to shorten the prayer. إِن خِفْتُمْ أَن يَفْتِنَكُمُ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. If you are afraid that there will be a fitna caused by the unbelievers. Yet, almost everybody, including these same, I'm so proud, loud and proud, arrogant kind of people who, including all the scholars of the world, generally speaking, everybody says it doesn't matter whether you fear a fitna or not, whether you are traveling in luxury. You could be traveling in more comfort than you have at home. I could be sitting in an air-conditioned vehicle, or I could be sitting in a business class or lounging in a business class lounge on an aeroplane, right? Yet that doesn't, and I could be more comfortable than I am at home. Yet these scholars will say I'm entitled to shorten the prayer. So you can shorten the prayer, and you think, well, but didn't Allah there clearly said, in khiftum, if you're afraid? They will say, oh, but don't worry. He didn't mean that. He said, but Allah clearly said, وَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ أَنْ يَفْتِنَكُمُ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. If you are afraid that, and they'll say, yeah, but he didn't mean it like that. So you say, well, okay, but here he actually said, وَعَلَى الَّذِينَ يُطِيقُونَهُ, and upon those who are actually capable of it. So they say, yeah, but here he doesn't mean this. It's amazing. Allah apparently doesn't seem to mean anything he's saying, but everything these people, some of these people are saying is what Allah obviously is trying to mean. I mean, these kind of things, so my whole point of explaining this is that, look, keep your fast, people, that's amazing, but just don't be arrogant towards people who are struggling. Don't impose your kind of piety on others. Don't say things like, look, in so-and-so in a hot country can keep the fast. Because it's different. This is a mas'ala of tahqiq al-manat, of where you can fit this ruling. And Imam Shatibi and many scholars explain, you are the judge. You yourself, it's your call. Right? So, it's absolutely your call. It's not somebody else's call to make. And many Imams recognize these in many rulings. So, you could say, like, let's take an example. If people say something fell into your food, let's say something fell into a pot of food and it was impure. Now, how much food do you have to remove and throw away, let's just say? People would say, yeah, but it's your call. You remove the surrounding or whatever it is. Similarly, you're traveling in a certain distance, or you're ill. How ill am I to miss something? It's my call. If I'm feeling ill, let's say I've woken up, I've got diarrhea, or I don't know, I've got a severe headache, migraine, and I think, look, you know what, I'm too ill, I'm going to miss this fast, or I'm too ill to go to work, or I'm too ill to read prayers on their time, I'm going to combine them. It's nobody's job to say to me, yes, but did you know there's children in China who are disabled but still doing this, for example. still going to work. That's not what the person is asking. And this is not a global competition. This is individual worship that Allah has set for individuals. It is your duty between you and Allah. It's not for anybody else. So just to clarify that, you can't guilt trip people. Let them make their call. I'm not saying people, it's an individual responsibility. Let people be responsible towards Allah. Don't force them. If somebody said, and this thing about the UK, the difference here is that one, it's extraordinary hours. 18 to 20 hours of daylight is extraordinary. Two, heat in this country is abnormal almost. It's unusual. We're not accustomed to, people, they say, well, people who grew up in a desert. Well, they've grown up in a desert. They're always accustomed to something. It's not the same as people who live in, let's say, cold climates that suddenly feel the heat. To them, they will become overwhelmed by the heat that they're feeling. Because even though you could compare that to the Sahara Desert and it's nothing, but to those people, it's a hell of a lot. Just as cold, you could switch it. You see, cold to those people, to people in colder countries, they would think, yeah, this cold is nothing. In hot countries, they're freezing when they feel a bit of cold. So it's not about like saying, you guys are already putting on jumpers, we've still got t-shirts on. Ha ha ha. It's not about that. This is an individual call. So I just wanted to clarify that this fatwa of Al-Azhar that they gave, a few people have asked me to shed clarity on that. I'll do that and then I'll wrap this up. This fatwa of Al-Azhar, which can be found on the Dar al-Ifta al-Misri website. So you can go there and just read the fatwa, right? You can contact the Dar al-Ifta. You can ask them for all the evidences you want, okay? And they will provide them to you. That's their job. Now you can Google. I had people on here saying, share the research. I was trying to research this. I couldn't find anything. I thought, well, that obviously shows your inability to research, because this is such a well-known issue. You just had to go to the Dar al-Ifta al-Misri website. You just had to Google this in Arabic. You just had to find this. But that shows that you're incompetent to do so. So, okay, this fatwa is based on certain factors. One, they've said that, look, they've taken night and day as a whole and split it down the middle and said that would be a perfect equilibrium, a perfect balance. Let's just say, hypothetically, 12 hours day, 12 hours night. Now, in order for one of these, the day or night, to have been definitely or clearly compromised, what would you say? And they've said, well, whether it's day or night, this is my understanding of their fatwa, the reasoning behind their fatwa, that if half of that entity was compromised, then it would be a clear compromise. So half of that being 6 hours, which leads to 18 hours in total. So if 18 hours day or 18 hours night would be a clear disruption of this balance, of this equilibrium. That's what I'm finding from this fatwa. Okay. Now, so just to kind of, so that's the reasoning they've said behind it. Now, in that case, what do? They've said that you can follow the timing of a different region. Now, many of them chose, I believe Sheikh Muhammad Abdu, or definitely today, you'll find the Dar al-Ifta al-Misri will usually often refer people to Tawqeet Ahl Makkah, the timing of people of Makkah. Why Makkah? Because one, you could say that Makkah, well, this is arbitrary anyway, so since we got to choose a country, why not choose one that was the beginning and center of Islam, unanimously throughout the globe? It's the center where all Muslims, the focal point of our prayer. Three, it's also it's very balanced. It has a very balanced equilibrium. So the time variations throughout the year do not vary as much due to its proximity, its closeness to the equator. So based on these factors, one could say, well, look, based on all of these factors, let's go with Makkah. Some countries in Europe who do take this fatwa, or which do take this fatwa, do not go with Makkah. They're closer to countries like Turkey, so they tend to go with Turkey timings. Some countries go with Morocco timings, or I don't know, some other countries. But that's entirely their choice. It is an arbitrary kind of decision. So if you take the timing of the people of Makkah, how would you do it? There is some flexibility. So, those people have said, well, you can either close the fast with your timing, and then you have a choice. You can either count the hours that the people of Makkah would keep. So if they're keeping a 14-hour fast, you could fast for 14 hours. Or they've said you could open it with their time. So let's say they happen to be opening the fast at 6:20, you open it at 6:20 p.m. as an example. So you could do it like that. Some people have said that you could open and close with their timing. So you just take their calendar and go with it. So there is some flexibility. I would probably, if people have asked my suggestion, they've said, what would you suggest? I've probably said that whatever makes things easier for them, I would probably just go just with their timetable. So their Fajr and their Maghrib. That's how I would do it, or I would advise, just for simplicity, if people were going to take that route. Okay, so I just want to clarify this. People are saying, where is this in the Quran and Sunnah? It doesn't, well, in the Quran, the verses I've mentioned, that يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ بِكُمُ الْيُسْرَ, Allah wants ease for you, عَلَى الَّذِينَ يُطِيقُونَهُ فِدْيَةٌ طَعَامُ مِسْكِينٍ, that these things are clear. Just as when you see, these people who are asking this question, when they say about shortening the prayer, I would ask them, where does it say in the Quran and Sunnah that these conditions of shortening the prayer that you apply? Where does it say 48 miles or the distance needs to be this much, or you need to, it doesn't say anywhere. There isn't a single hadith that teaches that. Not of the Prophet. You could say that some of the companions said, when we traveled between this distance, we shortened the prayer. But some of the companions said we traveled for 1 mile and shortened the prayer. Some said 3 miles and shortened the prayer. Ibn Taymiyyah brings all of this, and other scholars, he brings it in his Majmu' al-Fatawa, in his Rasail, Majmu'at al-Rasail. Other ulama bring, Ibn Hazm brings this, Shawkani brings this, other scholars discuss that many of the Sahaba, how do you shorten prayers? So what we have today of saying 48 miles, 36 miles, 50 miles, it's nowhere in the Quran. It's nowhere in the Sunnah. But yes, scholars came up with this. So similarly, when we can't have double standards. We can't be like, for all other rulings, it's okay, scholars have devised methods, and here's a method, but no, that method must be explicitly mentioned in the Quran. So it doesn't work quite like that. Okay, and like I mentioned, it's actually more emphatically mentioned in the Quran. So Allah says Allah wants ease for you when He mentions fasting. He says, and those who are capable of fasting yet don't. But when it comes to shortening the prayer, Allah actually mentions explicitly, if you fear fitna from the unbelievers. But today, and He mentions explicitly, if you hit onto in darabtum fil ard, if you hit onto the earth, meaning trotting along. But today you could be in an aeroplane, you could be in the utmost luxury, you could fear nothing, you could be entirely safe, more luxurious, more comfortable, more safe than you are. You could be surrounded by security than you are at home, let's say. But yet still, these very same scholars will not object to you shortening your prayer. So let's have some consistency. And my whole point is, look, this is a month, people, this is a month of rahmah. This is a month of compassion, a month of love. Please keep that spirit. Okay. This isn't, some people saying, oh, he's saying this fatwa because he must be an agent of MI5. I mean, I've never heard something more absurd in my life. I mean, I don't know what the MI5 or the government would be getting out of trying to vary the time of iftar for Muslims. I seriously don't know what's gonna happen, what kind of thinking is going on there. But look, people, this is not about you and me. I have actually, look, Alhamdulillah, generally, with the exception of maybe one or two occasions throughout my lifetime where I felt I couldn't, I've almost always kept my fasts as a person. I've actually traveled, I've lived years in very hot countries. Okay, I'm not like some of these just keyboard warriors coming on here. I've actually lived in the Middle East for years. I lived in Pakistan in the scorching heat for years. Okay, I memorized the Quran there. I studied the Sharia. I studied the Sunnah. I kept my fasts in that heat. It wasn't that I was like, I don't want to fast. I kept my fasts. But I can understand that, look, living here, I can understand that, wow, that it can actually get to people. Why? Because the lifestyle isn't accustomed to that. You see, each person is judged according to their own lifestyle. Here, the lifestyle is different. People are not in scorching heat. So all of a sudden it gets warm. So to these people, to people here in the UK, it becomes hot. Yes, if you're comparing it to the Sahara Desert, it's not that hot. But this is not the Sahara Desert. It's usually freezing in the UK. It's usually raining. Then on top of that, the hours become incredibly long, 18 to 20 hours. And the worst thing is not food, it's water. So if you're somebody who's very used to hydrating, drinking a lot of water, you will face that challenge. The other day, I was dying with thirst. Wallahi, I was literally dying with thirst. I've spent, like I've said, Ramadan in some very hot countries, and I don't remember, suffering from that kind of thirst. And that was just the other day, because it's maybe because my routine, I've started to drink a lot more water regularly. Now, the sudden withdrawal from water makes it very difficult for the body if you're accustomed to a lot of water. So what I'm saying is, go easy on your fellow brethren in faith, okay? Don't kind of look, if somebody by me is struggling, it's not for me to put them down and say, what's wrong with you? This. Try and have compassion. Remember that Back to Basics project that I spoke of. Try and understand, look, even if I can do it, but alhamdulillah, everybody's different. Somebody could have, their back could be hurting and they can't pray for some reason. You can't say, hey, well, there's a crippled person or a handicapped person that prays and what the hell's wrong with you? You can't, you see, it's not your call to make. So that's all I wanted to say. I wanted to shed some clarity. Right, people? See, that's what I mean about hydrating. I've had to... Right, people, I think I should wrap that up. That was awesome. When we face Allah, not harder than a little heat and dry. I'm all ease, but we have to strive a little. Look, I'm not saying... Look, listen. Mudassar Yasin has asked a question. When we face Allah, there will be heat. Look, when we face Allah, we don't know how that's going to be. But we know Allah has put us here on this earth and we are to fast, and that is a private worship between, let's say, the individual and Allah. I'm not saying there won't be challenges. There will be challenges. I'm facing these challenges. You're facing these challenges. I respect I admire your kind of courage and your determination. But look. Let me share a story with you. Yeah, look, from the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam witnessed a prayer. Yeah, so some of the companions, in this particular incident, he didn't witness this prayer. People came to him and told him about a companion leading the prayer for them. And this companion, mashallah, had beautiful recitation, and he would go on and he would read and he would love it. Beautiful recitation from an amazing Sahabi, radiallahu anhu. What more could one ask for? That is amazing, yeah, right? So, but he, for some people, they got fed up that he was taking way too long for them. So they went to the Prophet and they said, Ya Rasulullah, they said that, and not to be rude of them, but they were just workers. They were your regular, whether you want to say working class or your regular people. They said, look, we've got herd to get to. We've got work to do. We can't be sitting around, standing behind him, reading all this recitation. Now think about it. That's an amazing Sahabi with beautiful and outstanding recitation of the Quran. Yet the Prophet called him. And he said, Ya Mu'adh. He said, Mu'adh, afattanun anta? Are you somebody who's seeking fitna? And he said, look, when one of you, إِذَا أَمَّا أَحَدُكُمُ الصَّلَاةِ, if one of you leads the prayer, let him be mindful of who? Of al-da'if, the weak person behind him. Al-marid, al-musafir, the ill person, not the traveler. Not everybody is in your shoes. So I applaud your courage, your determination to want to endure these fasts. I ask Allah to not only double, triple, quadruple, to multiply manifold your reward. I, for one, I participate in being a celebrant of this joy in seeing your determination. But I would ask you to kindly refrain from imposing your threshold on others who are struggling. Let them make their own call. Right? That's their choice. It's between them and Allah. It's not for you to impose on others. That's all I wanted to say. Right, guys. I've not actually, somebody asking about the Mawrid. I've not actually read that. I've heard several of, somebody's asking about Allama Javed Ahmed Ghamidi Saab's way of explaining Islam. Many of his things are amazingly explained. I can't, obviously, depends what we're talking about. Right, people, the Rubicon mango clip I shared, that was hilarious. I couldn't stop laughing. Some people got so worked up and said, oh my God, you're mocking Islam. Seriously, man, people need to chill out, man. I really, you know what, when I see things like that, I actually think to myself, damn, these people must live miserable lives, man. And I suppose that's like, wow, like this is the least of their concerns. Like they must be really, truly sad human beings. And so I ask Allah to gift us all with an abundant sense of humor. Ameen. Right, folks, I'm going to leave it to that. That was some guidance on the fatwa. Have an awesome Ramadan. But if this is for people who are struggling, I shared that because I don't want to withhold knowledge from people who need it. Okay. Guys, stay awesome. Stay in touch. Stay blessed. That's what I'm talking about. Alright, inshallah. Take very good care of yourselves and we'll speak soon. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.